There's an account on YouTube that does paranormal stories from Mexico, and people ask me sometimes, like, why do you love paranormal, like, real story stuff and not scary movies? And it's because I lived it. I grew up in Mexico, and paranormal activity in Mexico is very common. And actually, I feel like the best paranormal stories are from those of Latin American countries. But I grew up in Mexico, and I had my first paranormal activity story when I was 10 years old. And I had my own bedroom in a house back at home in Mexico. And I think that was probably the last time I ever had my own bedroom because it changed everything for me. But essentially, what happened was that in this bedroom, I kept feeling like I was not alone. And for people that have had paranormal activity situations, you're going to understand what I'm talking about, because it's this weird feeling where you feel like you are not alone, that there's someone watching you, that there's another entity in the space with you. It feels just like you were literally sitting next to someone there, yeah? And once you've lived it, you are able to pinpoint it anywhere, anytime afterwards. And I would always tell my mom, like, there is someone here. Like, I feel like there's something in my closet. There's someone in this space. Like, I don't know what it is. I could not sleep. I could never turn my back towards the closet. It was just a weird experience, and it would only happen there. So oftentimes, like, if I couldn't sleep, I would have to go to my sister's room or my mom's room, and I'd be fine. And they would just say, like, you just don't like to be alone. You're just scared of the dark. And I was like, it's that I'm not alone is the problem, you know? At one point, I couldn't handle it. I ended up leaving the room and I moved into my sister's room. I don't know what convinced my mom to let me do that, but we ended up doing it and it was perfectly fine. I felt the energy in my sister's room was so different. I felt so different in her room. Well, we rented out my bedroom to a student. It was like a master's student for a local school. She was young and she needed the room, so we rented it out to her. She was the sweetest person. Her name was Clara. Well, I come to learn years later. Obviously, we moved out of the house. We were now living in the US, and my mom tells me that Clara would tell her that there was something in that room. Say more. What do you mean? You know, my ass was sitting there like, yeah, what'd she say? Well, turns out this thing would move her furniture, would open her doors, would turn on her computer, would wreak havoc in her room, only at night. But Clara, being the adult that she was like, leave me alone, not right now, leave me alone. And she would tell my mom about it. And, you know, they would kiki about it, they would laugh. Of course, my mom never told me because, for one, God forbid a Mexican mom give you the reason, you know, be like, oh yeah, you were right. No. But secondly, living in the house, my mom was like, I can't afford her to think that there's a ghost in this dang house, even though there was. Well, the thing that completed the story, though, not that it wasn't enough that the dang furniture was moving in Clara's room, but my mom had a friend. She's had, at this point in her life, 3 or 4 friends, which is crazy, that can see spirits. So, or I guess we call them now mediums. Well, this was her very first friend, and this friend kind of revealed herself one day to her accidentally by saying, you have the cutest dogs. And we had 2 dogs. And she said, yo, yeah, thank you so much. And she said, my favorite's that cute little one back there, little brown one. And my mom was like, which one? And she said, that little one that's chasing after that one, the white one, right? So we had 2 dogs. We had a big brown one, and then we had a little white one. Mexican families all got a little white one. But we had a little 3rd dog. Okay, so basically, before we moved into the house, we had a little dog who had been run over when she was like 5 months old. And she had lived with the white dog in the previous house. But by the time we moved to this house, she had been dead, and we got a new dog. Well, when she said this little brown dog and described the dog was in this new house, we're like, she didn't even know this house. What's she doing here? That's when we also learned that they can move with you. She was really close to the white dog, so she followed the white dog around, and that's what the friend saw. Well, that friend, when she went to the house and met the dogs, she told my mom that there was a lady that lived in that house, and my bedroom was her bedroom. And she died in the house. She was an older lady, and she would stand at the staircase and she loved us. And she said, yeah, that was her bedroom. She loves your daughter. She's not so happy that your daughter doesn't sleep in that room anymore. That's why she does everything. But she loves you guys. She sees your daughters as her grandchildren. And she doesn't mean any ill intent. But, she's here. So when my mom told me all of this, when I was older, I said, I dang knew it. I knew it. I was too old to see the lady, but I felt her. And I never had any experiences of things moving or anything like that. That would freak the bug out. But I could feel her. And so after that, every time I go into a space and I feel that feeling, I know that there's something there. And if you get this, if you get those feelings and you know what I'm talking about, sometimes you gotta listen to them a little. Sometimes it's gonna freak you out. One time I went into a Motel 6 and I went into the bathroom and I felt the most deep gut-wrenching feeling near the bathtub, and I knew that something good did not happen there. So the feeling of we're not alone, I want to remind you that we are beings of energy, and so when we leave this earth, we leave energy behind. And so sometimes you'll get that feeling of you just know. And it's so weird to explain it to people sometimes when it's like, no, once you've experienced the feeling of there's something else here, you can never go back, because now whenever you go into a space and you feel it, you know what it is. But they have different feelings. There's feelings of I'm not alone, but it's okay. And there's feelings of, oh no, like stuff happened here, which is what I got in that Motel 6. So anyways, I deeply believe in paranormal activity. I deeply believe in ghosts and all that stuff. I respect it. I think I was also raised in a culture that has a very healthy and loving relationship with death. Thank you, Jesus. But I do think that... Sorry, the airplanes. I live in San Diego. If you know, you know. But yeah, I think they can be very real. And I don't think you should be afraid of it. But sometimes it does feel really off.